Listeners of the Randomness of Nothing podcast, this is your host, Rashad Woods. It's always important that as a show that steers people towards creativity, entrepreneurship, business ownership, that I get wonderful guests that take time out of their schedule to come on my show. Rafael Pinho is a great example of this type of person and the guest that I get to have on my show. He's a CFO, and he shows businesses what happens if they've reached that plateau or that ceiling of how to continue to scale, have exit solutions, business consulting, and strategy. If you really want to listen to this episode, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for having me, Rashan. It's my pleasure.
I got to be honest. When you reached out to me and I looked at your accolades, I kind of stopped in my tracks because I always say, I'm kind of not worthy of people with these accolades to be on my show. But I'm very grateful. Can you give us your background, please? Because I'm very fascinated in what you do.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And no, don't be. I mean, I made my personal mission to be helping everybody, regardless of the background. If they have a business that they need help, here I am. So in a nutshell, here's the background. I'm actually Brazilian. So you guys listening and picking the accent there, pretty easy to tell.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Brazil. Became an electrical engineer and never changed a light bulb. So I'm a disappointment. My wife doesn't allow me to change light bulbs in my own house.
That's hilarious.
That's how gifted I am with my hands. And and went straight from engineering school into finance. Mm-hmm. It's very telling of Brazilian economy. I mean, I didn't have great jobs or prospects in engineering, so I got an opportunity in finance, took it, and ran with it. They needed guys that were nerdy and could do math and could do crazy spreadsheets and all that good stuff. So then I joined the bank, started working for them. Amazing run. I was blessed with a period of time where Brazilian capital markets were booming. We were coming out of 30 years of stagnation and having a good run in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I ran with it. So I joined an investment bank, did investment banking and banking related stuff, mostly equity research. So when you hear IPOs and all that good stuff, and you hear there are these analysts that go around talking about the business, that's what I did. So my job was basically know a CEO and a CFO, and in less than 2 hours figure out what the business was worth. Because I was then put on a plane, jet around the US and Europe, talking to investors about how much that was worth and why it was worth it. And
amazing.
And did that about 5 billion times in dollar amounts. And so did about $5 billion of IPOs. Was an amazing run. But I felt like something was off. I was missing something, and decided to make a move towards the real deal, real business. So first stop was in private equity. I found a private equity job. They needed help structuring, talking to investors, doing all the good stuff, putting deals together, sourcing deals, talking to owners, and understanding if there was a chance for us to co-invest with them. Did that for a few years. Back to a little Brazilian reality here. Brazil is not very stable, so economically, politically. So trying to raise 10-year capital and promising nice returns 10 years in a row in Brazil is not the easiest thing to do. Right. And after about 4 years doing that, it became pretty apparent to me that wouldn't be something I would find my joy in. Learned a lot.
That's an amazing journey.
Took that. Thanks for that. Took all that experience, and then I guess I was bored, so I needed something that was more exciting. Then a family that owned a 50-year-old verticalized manufacturing plus retail business with 4 brands needed to turn around. They didn't know when, but they did know that they were en route to bankruptcy if they didn't do something and change pretty quickly. So I was brought on board alongside with another very gifted team of individuals, managers, great guys on the commercial side, had a great IT guys. I mean, it was amazing what that CEO made in terms of forming a team.
It's amazing
to turn that ship around, and so we did. When we thought we found a way, I remember we had just sort of embarked in this journey on a new plan, and we had like a 5-year plan put together, COVID hit.
Oh
And
no.
and now this business is going from being levered, which was already war, to being super uber leveraged, beyond 5 times net debt to their EBITDA, with a 20% interest rate environment, which is in a sub 10% EBITDA margin business, because that's where they were. We were just starting the turnaround. That's a recipe for disaster.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
We were able to keep banks at bay and with us throughout the turning around, and we were able to turn the business around.
That's
We
amazing.
actually doubled revenues. When I left, we were at $150 plus million in revenue.
That's absolutely amazing.
2,500 employees in the business. We had to fire some during COVID, but we more than twice double what we hired afterwards.
Right.
We did it all. We revised the business lines. We shut down a few lines of business. Had to shut down one of the brands. 4 became 3 brands.
Right.
Had to shut down half of retail.
Right.
We took our medicine. It wasn't easy for a while, but then we were booming. We were growing. We were investing. We were growing international.
That's
I don't know if you ever heard.
amazing.
I don't know if you ever heard of the Kenner brand. It's a sandals brand, but they are like amazing. I mean, you're normally going to pay what, $5 for a pair of sandals. They're going to sell you on 50 plus bucks. So it's like more expensive than a Nike. And honestly, the amount of technology and design that goes in it, it's amazing. I have had some that we will endure pretty much 10 years on it. So it's amazing. Anyway, it was a great story. And
you wanted more of that. Then you wanted more of that. Then you realized, I'm imagining, like getting in the nuts and bolts of the business and getting like, coming in and being with founders really was like, that's your calling.
Exactly. So because at that point, when the business was booming, I was becoming bored. Things were easy. Banks went from dodging my calls to making a line at the reception, wanting to talk to me and want to be part of the play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like being the hot boy in town. That's not fun.
Yeah.
And I got it's funny. When I resigned and then moved here to start my own business, I'm going to get to that shortly. I got a few calls from banks like, what's going on? Things are good and you're leaving? I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's when you leave.
It's amazing.
As a CFO, that's when you leave. You don't leave.
Or they tried to hire you like, hey, dude, by the way,
They were like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I made a decision to move with my family to America. And this was back 2022. And in 24, we got our green card, our visa, all the approvals from the State Department, and then decided to move here. So I moved to Texas, where we already had some family. And
wonderful.
I just found an amazing state, amazing people, very welcoming, very warm. And we decided to start T.R.O.N Advisors. So I made my mission, as you just alluded to, help a multitude of business go over that transformation. I mean, see where they are in their journey, try to understand the problems that they're dealing with, and solutions are unique. Each business is unique. It's like a founder's. It's their child, right? So each one is unique. They may have similar issues, just like with kids, right? Different kids, different families are gonna have some stuff that is similar. Every parent is dealing with similar stuff in a sense, but the way to solution them is completely individual. It's completely customized, and that's what we believe. So we believe in sitting with the business owner, having very honest, very real, tough love conversations if we have to.
For sure.
To tell them, hey, we need to change things, and we need to change things fast, and we need to make some tough calls, some tough decisions, right? That's part of the growth journey.
Well, that's why they call you in, though. That's why they called you in, right? So, I mean, the first, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like getting with a personal trainer, right? If you want to have this body, this is what you're going to have to do, right? This is the cut, and a good personal trainer is not going to lie to you. And they're going to say, you got to cut these things out to get to this end goal, right? And you can try to lie to yourself and say that that's not going to things you're not going to do, but you're not going to get where you need to be. And so how are those conversations, particularly if they're owned by a family and they're multi-generational, and here you are, quote unquote, the outsider coming in, trying to disrupt the apple cart, so to speak.
It's a very challenging conversation, and for as much as that parallel with your personal trainer is very, very accurate in some senses, in some regards. You got to be careful. There are a lot of feelings involved. Mm-hmm. So, yes, it hit hard sometimes, but yes, sometimes it's having the patience to breathe and understand, hey, this thing has been here for sometimes decades, right, and we need to change fast, but we cannot break everything. We cannot break everything that is out there. Actually, there's a reason why private equity gets a bad rap. Because they have this tight timeline on what they promise to their investors, so they have to come boom, 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 and that's normally doesn't fit every business, right? And some struggle with that agenda. So we try to be cognizant of what's happening at the family level, what the dynamics are, and then say, okay, there are some non-negotiables. Back to your personal trainer, there are some non-negotiables. You got to show up for work. You got to do the stuff.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, maybe you're not feeling doing on a big leg day today. Okay, we can accommodate that, right? But
overall, that's it.
Working is non-negotiable, and heading in the right direction overall is a non-negotiable. And you know what takes get me out of bed during the night is when I find cases where there's so much value that is being destroyed by lack of action. So
that's amazing.
They don't even know what they don't know. And I can show you that the same business with a few changes can be worth sometimes 3 times more than it is now.
What is it about business? What is it about blind spots, right? Is it just because you don't, you listen to the same people, you're in the same rooms, right? Is it like, it's amazing. You could literally come from the outside and you guys work on these time frames that you do and you have the expertise that you have and you're sitting back and saying, well, why did you never pursue this particular avenue? Why is this the low hanging fruit? Why is this expense on your, how does that even, because like you said, people don't know what they don't know, or they're fearful of change sometimes.
It's the fear of change is real. But at the same time, and this is interesting. It was a change for me because I came from banking, which is very corporate, to private equity, which is corporate, and then this business, which was very well into a maturity as a business, right? And now we're talking to lifestyle businesses, guys in the 3-5 million to the 20 million that started this business, maybe in their garage 10-20 years back, and now there's some structure around it, but still it's lifestyle. I say that if they wanted to be Apple, there's a reason for why there's only one Apple out
Absolutely.
there. Because for the other guys, they kind of conform at some level, saying, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm not going beyond this. I'm not going to pull the all-nighters if I have to, which is fine. And I kind of learned that, okay, you're not going to be Apple, and you already came to that. That's fine. But it doesn't mean that because you're not going to be Apple, that you're not going to work on some basic things that you can, that will make such a difference. Let's work this backwards. And that's how we normally start. We start by asking them, okay, what's your ultimate goal? What do you want out of this? It all starts with that conversation and then building that plan backwards. It's very common that a business owner is going to tell us, okay, we're going to ask them, okay, you have any idea of how much your business is worth? If you would have to do estate planning about which is a very common source of
consternation, the heartburn, right?
Yeah. And I've heard it time and again. My business is worth $10 million. I say, really? Tell me how you arrived at that number. And the answer normally is something around the lines of, yeah, that's what I need to retire. Good. That's your goal.
That's not what
I like that. Yeah. But that's a goal. That's not valuation. Normally, when we start looking at valuation and the guy is saying 10 million, guy or the girl, it's normally 3 million.
Right. It's always less.
It's generally less because what people don't get is they've heard that so and so sold their business for 10 million, and now I have a similar business, therefore I'm worth 10 million. Let's take that. that's a fair statement.
Right.
What they don't see is that business valuation has two. If I really will boil this down to the simplest model possible, there are two levers. There are two elements to business valuation. One is earnings, which is basically a derivative of revenue and expenses and managing the operation. The second is the multiplier, your EBITDA multiple, your sales multiple, whatever multiple we're going to use to evaluate that business, which changes from business to business, doesn't matter right now. Right. That multiple is the risk factor. So earnings is the positive thing. Earnings is good. Earnings is sales. Earnings is cash flow, or it should be a proxy for that. Now, the multiple is where an investor, and this is where I come in, and I role play what the investor would tell this business owner about their risks. And then you're going to start with sales concentration, owner dependency, lack of any systems or processes, lack of, if this owner is out and there's a lot of owner dependence, what happens to the business? So I tend to ask my clients, okay, can you take a 3-month vacation?
Oh, geez.
Let's assume for a moment you have a health scare of some sort. I'm not having anyone die here. Just saying you have a health scare. You have something you need to slow down.
Absolutely.
Your body tells you to slow down, and you have to for say 3 months. What happens to your business? If the answer to that is
you can't survive without me, right?
It's not going to happen. I'm like, okay, so
that's a scary.
Let's work on that,
right? Because at times, and I just do a podcast, right? And I'm just a solo guy, but so many people that I've talked to are like, you have to think beyond you, right? There's working for yourself and there's being a business owner, right? And there's two distinct things that I had the pleasure of listening to one of my earlier guests. He was like, the business owner means the business can operate without you having a day-to-day within the weeds of it all, and I said, wow, that's, a lot of people don't really think like that. It's like, can this function in your absence? Have you put enough processes in place that it's sustainable, like you said, without your presence there?
Yeah. And you know what's the biggest challenge? And you touched on change before. Trust. Trusting people.
For sure.
Because they normally have a hard time hiring.
Oh my gosh.
I see time and again, they end up hiring family. Because I can trust family. Fine, you can trust family, but you cannot fire family if they don't perform.
Yeah.
You cannot fire your wife, your kids.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I don't say you can't. You can, but
that's an awkward dinner table conversation. Right? That's an awkward dinner table.
So it's like avoid those things. Those are silent traps that are gonna bite you. And I've heard but I hired and they didn't work. Okay, so did you do a post-mortem on your hiring process to check what you did wrong on hiring? What were the questions that you didn't ask that you should have asked to gauge if that was the right person? Did you provide them with enough training? Did you give them the feedback that they weren't at par with your expectations way before getting to the point of, no, this is not going to work, have to fire them? So if you didn't do all those things, which you are taught, I was taught, I was managing 50 people, you cannot blame on them. The blame is on you. So going back to having hard conversations, right? You have to, and it starts with that, developing that trust in people. Right. And put in places, I know people can be trusted, but sometimes they will
burn you
under. So what you do, you put systems and processes in place, checks and balances, so you're able to keep them in check. I believe that the most powerful lever in that conversation is share their fair share of the earnings with them. Wow. Give them some stock. I mean,
some equity. Yeah.
Look at what every startup out there does. Why some kids pull all-nighter after all-nighter after all-nighter to make sure that this startup that doesn't have cash to get to the next month succeeds, and a lot of them do. Right. Because they are aligned economically
with the business, with the success of the business.
That's power. That's power in that. I mean, there's so many examples.
I think one of the things that I'm fascinated because you help so many different industries and businesses. So it's just kind of a two-legged stool question. The first question is there particular industries that seem to reach out to you consistently for help and assistance? And then this my second question to that, kind of a lead off from that. What has AI done to this system in place when it comes to assisting businesses in the digital era that has really transformed, particularly over the last since post-COVID, but really in the last 16 months.
All right. So yeah, there are some industries that we tend to have be more fond of. I'd say more manufacturing, heavy asset businesses. Those are the ones that really need normally financial levers and financial accountability to succeed. And those are the ones who really attract a lot of liquidity and investment. And it's interesting that you asked that, because especially in the AI world, the trades and all those businesses, those are the ones that have been dubbed AI resistant, because I cannot see ChatGPT grabbing a hammer and doing the job, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe some robot in some point, but
it still has to have, at its most basic human level, you still need a person to do certain tasks when it comes to the physical labor of things.
Yeah.
So
back to your AI question. Yes, AI has changed things. Yes, AI had given people the ability to do more work in less time, be more efficient.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Right.
It's just a tool. So Absolutely. I'll go back to my hammer example. If you give me a hammer, I cannot change a light bulb. I'm going to make a mess. Now, if you give a gifted carpenter a hammer, they're going to build art, right? So it can be used for good. It's a tool. If well used, it can help with workflows at the back office, at the admin level.
Oh my gosh.
It can do wonders if well integrated.
Mm-hmm.
But I just find so many businesses that don't have even the basics, like good accounting, basic financial dashboards, basic. Okay, do you track how many calls you've been making to your clients? Do you track conversion rates, and do you track all that good stuff? If the question is what you're asking about, don't bother about AI. You are not there yet. Right? If your website was still developed in the early 2000s and it's not even mobile friendly and
robust
and the company's phone number is your personal cell phone, we are in deep trouble. Let's fix those first.
Yeah.
Yes, AI can do a lot. I do a lot of AI on my day to day. It helps me churn models, financial models, way quicker than I would back in the day. So it's a great tool. It has changed the game. It has leveled up the playing field between a small advisory business such as mine versus, say, a big bank. I can still do Wall Street level work, but it would take me hours and hours and hours of work to do it by myself because I don't have a team with me doing them. Guess what? With AI, I can do alone. So on that, it helps. It has changed the landscape. I just feel like there is a lot of hype, and there's so much that you need to do without having FOMO about AI. I see a lot of people having AI FOMO. I mean, I'm missing out on this, and I don't understand. And AI is this buzzword. So I'm like,
of course it is. It's the new chick thing to do, right? Like, so it's so funny because I always equate AI like with streaming services. Everybody went all in until all the companies saw how much expensive it was to actually do streaming. And then they all pulled back or they consolidated and merged, right? Because it's a heavy upfront. And then the thing is about AI, it's very duplicatable now. Probably not even the right word, but you can duplicate it. Now everybody's doing it, right? And I always think that there's going to be a pullback of some sorts in certain industries. It's just a question of which one it'll be. So I don't know. Like, I certainly not Nostradamus, but I think that it's evolving as we see day to day.
Yeah, it's in the end, we are humans, and humanity is important for humans.
For sure, we found that out during COVID.
Yeah, go back to that. When our ability to be out there socializing was taken away from us, it led to some deep thinking of some sort. Great that you brought it up. I remember myself being alone on the streets because I had to go out to do something. I'm like, man, this is horrible. This is feeling, for as much as we don't like busyness, when it's too busy and we are out and there's traffic and all that,
you need it. You need it.
We need it. We're social by nature. So
it was post-apocalyptic. It was just like you go outside, there's no cars moving, there's no kids playing, there's restaurants weren't, and just like you felt like Will Smith and I Am Legend. Like, you're just like, what exactly is going on?
Exactly. It was Yeah, I cannot believe it's been already 6 years, 6+ years, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's going away
Oh my
as
gosh.
a memory,
Oh
because
my.
those are crazy days. But again, I'm there with you. There's gonna be a pullback because well, we are smarter than machines. Skynet, please, I'm saying this, but I love you. If you're
Yeah, in
around,
case
if you're
they're
listening.
listening. Yeah, right. You know what I mean. So you be careful. You know.
I have this joke with my son. He's like, I'm the kind that says please and thank you to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, that's just a machine. Just say what you want. You don't need
You,
to be
you,
nice.
ne-
I'm like,
you never know.
dude,
You
I'm
never
gonna
know.
watch a movie with you. It's
Yeah.
called Terminator 2. You're gonna understand it. Why?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And yeah, and people like, and here's the thing, like we joke and laugh about it, but like, listen, man, I mean, it's not, I always say, if it's free, you're not what's the saying? If it's free, you're not the customer, you're the product being sold, right? So while you're inputting all this cool information that you're getting stuff that's spit out to you in real seconds, right now they're taking hey, this guy is 5'8", he lives in Michigan, he's a podcast host, all these little intricacies, and then trust me, I'm being data mined as we speak. I know it.
yeah, on that, I mean, I decided or consciously said, okay, I'm gonna live with it since the
Mhm.
Google days, right? Because I know we're
Yeah,
being recorded and listened
of
to,
course,
and
of
stuff
course.
shows up magically on your feed, and you're like, okay, I know what it
Oh,
is, and
mm-hmm.
uh,
It is what it
but
is at this
back to
point.
where I was, I think that I was just yesterday reading something. People are already getting we already know when it's AI
Mhm.
as being around it time long enough, right?
Right,
So back to a pullback, people are just saying, I don't need that. Sorry, that's
right.
not. I'm out. I'm by being a user, I can recognize it way quicker. I can see
Yeah,
a lot of websites and a lot of stuff. Okay, so this is pure AI. Just yesterday, having a conversation with someone, they pull up this thing. It's Claude, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's Claude. I'm like, okay, gotcha. But fine. And
Yeah,
again, going back to that same tool would have taken him days to put together. Now it took
minutes.
minutes. Took minutes. Awesome.
Right.
Just acknowledge and move on. I've actually I'm going to say something I never said, but anyway, I put it on page 2. I'm about to launch a book. It's
Beautiful,
called
beautiful.
From Job to Asset.
Yeah.
It explains to entrepreneur that journey, how
Hmm.
to go about the journey. For I actually jokingly say that my hope is that they read the index, and as they read it, they're gonna go, yeah, I should hire this guy and not do this because it's a lot of work.
So that way,
Kidding.
by default, you'll get the people that you really actually want, and want you, and want to scale, and want the questions answered, and want.
Well, so it's a 4 part journey, right?
Mhm.
You got to do your research. You got to define that goal
Right.
more than how much I want to sell, because people worry about the number a lot. Is to whom and
Mhm.
under which conditions.
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
the stuff that people get
Yeah.
wrong, or they don't prepare for that, and
That's deep.
that's the blind side. That's when they get blindsided down the road.
Mhm.
2 is, okay, now you know where you're going. Let's embark on the journey. Let's do the steps. Let's add value to that business. 3 is, okay, now let's execute on whatever is it that you want, because it could be passing along to your son, to
Right.
your daughter, to your kids.
For
It
sure.
could be setting up a trust and having professionally managed and drinking martinis on the beach and just
Pina
watching the money
coladas.
flow. You could set up
Yeah.
mailbox money. But what happens next? That's
Yeah.
the 4th part. What happens the next day? Because there's another problem I see a lot.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs, they're so connected to what they've built that they have a hard time detaching. So I've
Right.
seen people sabotage the value of the business
Mhm.
unconsciously, because they're like, what
That's
do
all
I
I know.
do if the phone stops ringing and the emails stop flooding? And I complain about all those things, but I need those things. That's my identity.
Mhm.
So we discuss the identity. Back to where we're talking about AI.
Right.
Page 2 says, and it's true. I'm transparent. I had used AI to help me shape some of these things. I had used AI to help me
Of course.
craft some of the messages,
Of
some of
course.
the visuals.
Of
And
course.
I don't see a problem. It's still my content. I've recorded 100% of the book. I've dictated it, then transcribed it, then organized it, and did all these things, which would be impossible or would cost me about, because I quoted it, costs anywhere between $25,000 and $50,000 depending on who you hire to
Unbelievable.
help you with that. And I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that in 2026,
Yeah.
and I'm embarking on this journey alone, and that it is. It's done now.
That's amazing. And you know, the thing is about it, what I find like people like yourself are so willing to share this information, right? So, you know, here are entrepreneurs. It's a lonely journey. You know, they have a great idea of what they want to do, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. All they know is they have a passion for a certain thing. But it's the things in between that you have to learn. And it's the hours that you have to work when there's no immediate praise or there's no instant gratification that takes place. Right. And those are, you know, those late nights, you have to pull them, right? Like nobody's going to wake you up and say, hey, you know, knock, knock, get out of bed. It has to be embedded in your DNA to ultimately get to those goals. Obviously, I want to be, you know, I could talk forever about what, you know, because I've talked to so many people like yourself. What I find fascinating, how do you get companies that may be stuck in kind of a basic age to upgrade their systems? Like that restaurant that only operates on a cash system that doesn't want to go to a point of sale, but then you say you're missing out on this percentage because maybe they don't want to do the Visa transaction, so to speak. Do you have those conversations ever with like restaurants or food and beverage places?
We haven't done yet a lot of work in that area,
Mhm.
that particular business, but I think I get what you're talking about. And again, it all starts with, okay, if what you want is a business that is able to, say, finance through some of the ups and downs that any business, regardless
Mhm.
of where it is going to have, you're going to be connected to where the state of the art is today. And people are going to say, oh, but the credit card companies take a fee. Yes, they take a fee because they provide a service.
Right.
It's they guarantee for fraud.
No question.
It's on your bank account. There's so
Mhm.
much. If you do the math, it's more than worth it.
Mhm.
Not saying you don't have to absolutely go and fight for the lowest possible fee and be efficient. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm
Right.
saying live with the fact that that's a cost of the game, and you have to play, because if you have that and now you have receivables and a string of receivables, there's things you can do with it. You could go
Right.
and loan against it to
Mhm.
smoothing out your cash flow
Mhm.
that you wouldn't otherwise.
Mhm.
And just looking at cash in the registered machine, that's great. That's cash. But how many people do carry cash in their wallets right now?
That is true. That is true.
I'm gonna be able to live
Yeah.
and scale,
Mhm.
because in the real world that's not gonna happen. So it's a little bit of do or die, and having
Mhm.
the conversation and saying, hey, yeah, there's a cost associated to this. I know, but there's a big benefit down the road. It's like that got me into another very frequent conversation. I don't understand why in a country like America, where money is really available, liquidity is there, you are able, and people complain, okay, we are coming out of a higher interest rate scenario for American standards, but coming from a 20% interest rate economy, this is a walk in the park for me. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
this is amazing, right? I see people focused a lot on their personal credit score and their personal finances when it comes to their relationship with lenders, but 90% of the business don't worry about that on the corporate side, on their own business. They don't build credit score
Uh,
for the business. They don't work credit as a tool that they can
yeah.
use, and if done well, it adds immense value. Oh, but now I'm paying interest. Well, you're paying interest. However, you're no longer sweating because the balance on the bank account is not where it needed to be to make payroll. Yes, you're
Right.
going to pay some interest out of it,
Right.
but as you grow and as you use those tools, and it just becomes another tool in your toolbox
Correct.
that, if used wisely, it's going to take you to places. I'll go back to the business I was talking about. We were in crazy leverage. I know what crazy leverage is,
Mhm.
and still made it. Used it wisely while we needed it.
Mhm.
Evolved as we went by. Paid
Yeah.
off all the debt,
Mhm.
to a point where, near the point where I offered my resignation to move here,
Mhm.
we were setting up our own mini bank,
Yeah.
because now we are lending money to our suppliers. So we went from being super borrowers to
Right.
being lenders.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I think that there's a testament and of the tools that you offer, because again, a lot of founders may not have that foundation and base that you have, or if they want to scale, they want to grow, or they're interested in entering into markets. The tools that are available to access knowledge and information. We're in a beautiful era right now, and it's very important to utilize people such as yourself, because it's so competitive out there. People can duplicate your business overnight, and it's very important to be well-rounded, or if you're not, get the expertise such as yourself to be constantly evolving, which when we talked about those apples before, they always evolve. Went from the personal computer, the floppy disk, to to listening, to stream, to devices, to streaming. Now people can't live without it because they were always evolving.
Yep. It's always be on that pursuit for what's next, and be ready to adapt. And in a sense, that's the real job of the owner. The real job of the owner, and I'll have to go on the very often used phrase, they should be working on the business, not in the business. So they should be working on the strategy. What's next? Where I should be looking for? Where they should be. For me, learning is fun.
Absolutely.
I love to sit down. I mean, I'm a little bit of a nerd myself, so I love to sit down and nerd out about some stuff at times. And if I'm able to build a business the way it should, I should have that time. I should have the time to go and go to a trade show, go see, go talk to your competitors, have a relationship like trade associations and all of that.
Potential suppliers, new markets.
Exchange best practices, have time to have coffee with those people and having a conversation. That's your job. The real mission of a leader is to work itself out of a job.
That's amazing.
So if I'm building this business and the business needs people and a team, I should have second in command. People should know. I don't need to tell them. They know that the moment I'm not here, there's a second in command that is going to take on. Praise for the military for that. Their system is amazing on that, right?
Right.
We discussed some old movies here, so I feel like I'm in a throwback day. Remember Private Ryan? Remember the Normandy scene?
Of course.
They're coming in. 3 people get killed.
Yeah.
They knew exactly who's next.
Yeah.
They know exactly who's next on the pecking order and who's taking charge and who is doing things. So as a founder, that should be your job.
That, and I think when you actually incorporate structure and when you incorporate, a level of discipline, you can bring that. And so I think it's very important that for people who are looking to scale and to grow, bring people that can ask you those tough questions and have those tough conversations, because ultimately I always refer to this one example, and this is is White Castle. It was the first fast food, burger fry joint in America, but they never tried to compete with McDonald's because they stayed in their respective lane, and they're survived over almost 100 years because they're not in the toy business. They didn't franchise. They knew exactly where their scalable location were. So sometimes you can grow, but in a different way. They're not even on McDonald's radar, right? They want to crush Burger King. They want to crush Wendy's. But they're like, hey, man, I'm over in this corner, minding my own business, and I'm never going to compete with you, but I don't have to worry about you being next to me and putting me out of business, because they cultivated their own lane. And so I think when you bring in that dynamic of someone like yourself, sometimes you can carve out that space that's exclusively yours.
That's all about having strong cultures. And I'm the numbers guy, so people think that I'm all about numbers, but it's actually much more about people and management and managing the resources. And in this business, mostly 80% of the resources are people and their time. So managing them wisely, and it's all about culture. So back to you're talking about fast food. I'm fascinated by the whole Chick-fil-A story. By far, most efficient chain, the biggest sales per square foot in America, closing one day per week. Right. They're closed. And if that doesn't tell you about culture and their culture, nothing else will. Did you know that to be a franchisee of Chick-fil-A, the actual odds are worse than being drafted for the NBA.
Are you serious?
I am serious. I read a piece
Wow.
on it a while ago. So it was a long form piece on the whole story. And the actual selection process is
Wow.
statistically tougher than to be drafted at the NBA.
Wow. It's that competitive and that hard.
It's competitive because of the number of applicants. Well, it's profitable, right? So everybody
Absolutely
that
it is.
thinks franchise wants to be profitable, they want that, right? So that explains why the funnel is so big at the top. Now, apparently, the big thing is they absolutely make sure that whoever is running their business fits their culture.
Correct.
And that's like the number one thing. Doesn't matter, I have $10 million to open a franchise that will cost me $500,000. I don't care. I'm not looking at your bank statement. I'm looking at your culture, because that's where business get ruined. So I was studying that case. I was looking into a franchise model to help my then employer. We had franchises. We end up shutting down. After we were halfway through our turnaround, there was chatter about redoing it. Mm-hmm. And I was adamant about pitching, hey, yeah, I just gave you a financial model that works. So there is a money to be made there. But if we don't put a funnel right, the whole Chick-fil-A way of selecting people,
it's going to fail.
This is going to fail. It's going to fail as it did fail in the past. It's going to fail again. So
vetting is very important, and and not being for everybody when it comes to you have to have some sort of guardrails in place to protect the business.
Yeah, you want to hear another very common pitfall: operating agreements. Oh. So me and you get to know each other here. We like each other. We say, okay, let's go in business. You can produce podcasts. I can come with some content. Let's do this. Great. We're all excited. Now we jump into business, and we don't stop to write a proper operating agreement between us. Yep. Now, winter is coming, and eventually it's here. And then what do we do? Right. Now we are resentful. We are not. Right. So think of the operating agreement as the best equivalent to a prenup.
Right.
I love this person. We are in a good place. But what if things go sour down the road?
Absolutely.
So let's have some rules written down before we jump into this. Right. Now that we love each other and we are in good spirits, let's have, because very tough conversations. Let's have those conversations now.
Absolutely.
Let's put it together so it's sound. Because then when and if things go sour, because we cannot predict the future, we'll have the set of rules. They've been written in a moment where we were in good spirits and we were all in agreement, right? And now it becomes easy. I actually have a friend who had a situation exactly like that. So someone came in and said, he had a great executive job, and they told him, okay, we are bringing a lot of investment to this new business, and we want you to spearhead it. Can you quit your job, and can you do this for us? A lot of people will just say, okay, great, jump ship and do it. Mm-hmm. He spent 4 months negotiating the equivalent to the operating agreement of that new venture.
Wow.
He actually hired an attorney and had outside counsel, paid big dime to do it.
Beautiful.
Guess what? 5 years into it, the macroeconomic winds had shifted to another direction that no one predicted.
Yeah.
And those investors said, no longer interested in doing this. He was like, okay, remember we had this? I told them that I would abandon all my life. But if you bailed out, you got to pay this and this and this.
Smart man.
We can still be friends. And I'll tell you, you know what? Not only, and they did well. Mm-hmm. There were no hard feelings. Mm-hmm. The investors paid out what they owed him. Mm-hmm. And they're still friends. They're actually still in business together in other areas. They've been doing other things together. There's a partnership that has been there for almost 20 years now.
Right. And
beautiful. It's good. It's a beautiful story, right?
Because he did his due diligence up front, and he had those tough conversations before the headwinds changed, and he was willing not to deal off emotion just because they said this venture was taking place. Like, let's make sure that this is all on paper of what can happen in the event of.
Exactly. And again, I'm like, okay, this is perfection. This is closest to perfection as it can be, right? Had those discussions, mm-hmm. put everything in writing. Mm-hmm. And if the scenario unfolds, you know exactly what to do, and you're not like scratching for because that's the real moment where people, just like in a marriage, that's when you really know them, right? That's when I full disclaimer here, I'm happily married.
Yeah, I get it.
Tatiana, I love you. Love my kids. There's no intention whatsoever.
It's just a broader example, nothing specific pertaining to you. I know, but like overall, it's just like, hey, no, there's no Skynet on here. But yes, I understand the full dynamics. Like, hey, we talked about this up front. In case this situation occurred, it's almost like making sure the seatbelt is on in the event of a crash, right? That's like the equivalent of making sure that the seatbelt is on. You don't have the luxury, unfortunately, of putting it on right before the car crashes. You have it on before it happens, so that way you're okay. I think that's I gotta ask. I gotta tell you, this has been one of the more eye-popping interviews that I've had because everybody has this beautiful, quote unquote, sexy dream of starting a business, but then it gets really ugly when you're actually doing the business, right? And then so TD Pine Advisors. Where can people find Rafael Pinho?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to send me a message. I love to respond and love to connect. Have a couple of virtual or real coffee if you are in the DFW area.
Mm-hmm.
Our website, tdpineadvisors.com. We actually have some tools there that are available. They're free. You can have a quick view on valuation. It's not a formal valuation, but it gives you an idea. You can have a quick assessment of where you are with regards to issues like owner dependency, sales concentration, lack of systems. Mm-hmm. So it's like a 5-minute thing that you fill in, an assessment that we put together based on our experience that helps you understand where you are. And if you want to discuss the results, we'll be always available for that. The website is another good way to reach out. There's a lot of content there that we put for this demographic, so people can have a look. Mm-hmm. And we love coffee, so if you to a point where we have our own coffee brand, Rashan. This is a true story.
Oh.
We have a coffee brand called Value Climb.
Yeah.
We bring packets of coffee for people we like to meetings.
That's beautiful.
And it all started with a very crazy story. I was about to import 1 ton of coffee from Brazil.
Oh,
I
wow.
had an opportunity. Someone wanted to pay in kind. Anyway,
wow.
One thing, yeah, it led to a lot of laughter, and I'm like, no, my garage is not fit to fit 1 ton of coffee. So we decided to just we have our roaster out of Houston.
Okay.
It's much easier.
You probably got TD Pine. Well, you're twofold. You're importing your own goods and coffee, and then you're advising yourself at the same time of the best decision of how to get the coffee off the ground. So it's like,
yeah. And last but not least, I mean, we are available at the website, LinkedIn, all the good stuff. By probably July, we are in the final adjustments. We're going to have From Job to Asset published. It's going to be available at the website. It's going to be available on Amazon. We're going to have the Audible version too, and Kindle, everything. I guess a good starting point for anyone wanting to understand this journey. It's a journey. That's why we like the climbing imagery. So it fits so well what this is all about. And I'll leave you with a thought there. There's been stories about people interviewing climbers who did all the great peaks, and they did the Himalaya, they did all those things, and they're like, okay, what do you treasure the most about that? And most of them don't say the view, they don't say the peak, they don't say that day. They can say, that was nice, 5 minutes. Then we went down. What I really miss is the journey. What I really missed is the preparing, the training, and all the work, and the sense of accomplishment. So those are the things that stay, and we love to help business owners in that journey.
Hey, that's beautiful, and coming from a guy who's started out of his living out of his in the basement and then his dining room, and gets a chance to interview people like yourself. Me scaling is I haven't reached the heights of what I want to, but to your point, it's just like I'm on 193 episodes, and I'm just like, this is surreal sometimes to be able to do the things that I get to do, because it is a lot of hard work. And for people who are listening, it's worth it, is all I can say. And if you're passionate about it, get good advice, listen to the right people, great things can happen to you. And I got to be honest with you, Rafael. This has been one of the more inspiring interviews that I've done, and I'm honored that you took time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. And I know I can go on and on. So
it's all. There's nothing wrong with that. This is Rafael Pinho with the Randomness of Nothing. Thank you for joining me on this episode and this journey along the way.